resolve and sure grittiness.
It starts with an attitude. We need swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
Hey, welcome to the 5-Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm your host, Alan. I hope everyone is enjoying, well, the playoffs are just starting, but enjoying what we've seen so far. But I am here with Eric from Frozen Tools, the Grand Poobah, the 5-Hole Tier 1 champion. Apparently, I also saw in the Discord that you won last year as well.
I did.
So points and categories now. So you are truly a renaissance man of fantasy hockey. So for reference here, the categories that we used were goals, assists, power play points, hits, blocks, shots, and then goalie wins, total saves, and then save percentage. So yeah, jumping right in here. So back, forever ago, feels like a lifetime ago, back to the draft. So going into that, did you have like a specific strategy in mind? I guess what would be the difference in drafting points where you just grab the best available player based on your scoring versus, okay, well now do I draft purely points? Do I draft specific categories later on in the draft? What was your strategy all those months ago?
So in the early rounds, I usually put a bias towards offensive categories. The reason being that after the draft, there's usually more of a chance for you to fix hits and block shots. On the other hand, if you don't have enough offense coming out of the draft, it's a lot more difficult to fix with hot players in the season.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was about to say that was sort of my one bit of advice I remember hearing, that just before I even played categories for the first time was just sort of, I don't think there was a number, but it was, the first few rounds generally draft for just points, as if it were a points league, draft those high point getting players and don't focus so much on, well, is this guy 100 points plus all his peripherals kind of thing.
Yeah, and before we did this, I went back to our league and I looked at the free agent pile, and there were no elite goal scorers available. I think there was one 30-goal guy who was released because of his schedule. And same thing with assists, but then there was the third and fifth best hits guy were available. A bunch of the top block guys were available. Ben Sherratt was a free agent for most of the season. He gives you a big boost in two categories. So he's a guy that you can add at any point and give yourself a quick boost if you need to close out a week with some good hits and blocks.
Okay. And then I guess tying into that, were there any of and we didn't use a lot of categories. Were there any categories you punted at all? Or just put less of a priority on, just each from week to week?
So, I ended up punting shots on goal most weeks, not by choice. That was just because I messed, full disclosure, I messed up a couple early picks in the draft. And because of injuries and subpar performances, I had a lack of firepower for most of the year.
Okay.
And so again, to go back, I kind of fade hits and blocks in the draft because either late or after the draft, I can compensate with, Philip Hronek, who is a hot player during the season. Guys like that.
See, and hits almost makes sense to me to kind of punt or place less of a priority on, because there's, I don't know, it's come out at least once that just hits get recorded differently across the different stadiums, teams. It's kind of inconsistent. I forget. I think it was maybe it was Pittsburgh's stadium, or video coaches or whatever, the most generous. I could be getting that totally wrong, but I think I remember that hits aren't recorded maybe as consistently as they should be. Oh, I think it was even last year they added like didn't they add like almost 100 points or under hits to someone?
So
Like
they did
most
a
of the way
full
through the year.
audit. They did a full audit of the league of all games. So they reassessed every play essentially, and they added like hundreds of hits.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, so I remember hearing about that. So yeah, I think you might be onto something there. Like, don't prioritize hits, but obviously they're still important. But even like in my experience, like as going back to what you said about being able to pick up guys that just kind of pop up on the wire, like Jacob Mellinson in Seattle was just insane for me when he popped up for a bit, but then he started getting scratched, which kind of makes it hard when you pick up like those kind of fourth line role players like that. And I think Matthias Samuelson from Buffalo was someone that no one really drafted.
Probably not.
Got scooped up very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and I see your answer already, but just sort of what was the most important trade you made all season? You know, were you a buyer, seller? What was kind of the reasoning for it? And how did it work out like you expected?
So in this league, there were no trades all year. We were just a bunch of sharks, and I think everyone would just want to fleece each other, so nobody can ever agree to anything. My most important move was right before the playoffs. I was basically on the ropes. Team was not performing that well. I lost a couple weeks, and I decided that I needed to play like an underdog and kind of get more aggressive with my moves, make some more strong, make a lot of assumptions, and go into the playoffs and go for it. Otherwise, I'm just an easy knockout. So I committed to Jacob Daoust as my second goalie. And what that ended up doing, first of all, it was a bit of a risk because of the three-headed goalie in Montreal.
Right.
And in committing 4 weeks to that is a little bit risky. But what it did is it allowed me to use my weekly moves on either skaters or a third goalie if I want to go that route, which I did in the finals at the end.
Gotcha. I was wondering when he picked Adobis because I'm like, man, he really didn't start to kind of be the hot goalie till like after the Olympics. And then like you said, they were running all three for a little bit there. And then maybe within the last 2-3 weeks, month was when Montreal kind of firmed up on Dobas Fowler as their tandem. But yeah, was there was there a moment mid-season where you felt like, yeah, I am a world beater, I'm unstoppable, or just kind of like maybe I'm a first round exit?
So the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, what I did is I effectively just used a lot of my moves up front to kind of optimize the games played schedule. Got to the finals, the first week was done, and then when it came to add to my moves for the second week of the finals, that's when I started playing a little bit defense mode. I was ahead, so I was more countering to make sure I don't get flanked in any categories. So I didn't want to make my moves early and have him sneak a goalie in or something and steal a couple categories.
Okay. And then underdog survival mode. And that's if I'm getting you right, like I kind of did the same thing in the league. I ended up getting second in just looking at the lineup, like setting my roster ahead of time and seeing and this was a points league. It was just sort of like, okay, well, I had Panarin was my specific example. Like I ended up dropping him after that Monday game to begin week 24 because he's like, all right, I'm going to be benching him the rest of the way. I'd rather grab Blues player or someone who fit in on like that Wednesday, Saturday kind of, or Wednesday, Sunday kind of weird schedule there was when there was no Friday games at the end of the season, which was weird. So I get that. Yeah. And I think that's something that most people kind of get about. It's like do or die time. Like it doesn't matter if someone else snags this player, that's the season on the line. But moving on here. So which category caused you kind of the most headaches? And were you ever able to adjust for it? Or you just keep kind of punting it the rest of the way?
So shots on goal is the one that gave me the most problems. I was just not strong there. And there's a compound effect because that also limits my ability to score goals, which also trickles into special team points. So it's kind of like a multi problem on some weeks. And I was able to improve that later with just some fortunate waiver wire ads towards the end. And I didn't win the category in the playoffs, but it wasn't, I think I did enough to force my opponent to not punt it after taking a lead.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Well, there you
it
go.
was like
That's
enough. Yeah, just good enough to kind of put a little bit of pressure, make them think about it.
it's the moral victory. You made them
Yeah,
sweat.
a little bit,
The best
hopefully.
kind. And then so does your waiver wire philosophy change in a categories league versus points? Like, do you stream aggressively for specific stats? Which it sounds like you do. Like, you draft sort of points heavy, and then you use your waiver wire ads to kind of just maximize games, protect your depth, only really adding when necessary. Like, you have just an underperforming player that's sustainably low, and you just like I have someone, but the upgrade is on the wire.
Yeah, yeah, and also had a ton of injuries this year, which kind of forced my hand, and also a lot of the streamers that I brought in ended up not being streamers, and they ended up sticking around for a while. In a points league, my waiver wire ads tend to go offense heavy, just because if they go hot, that's a lot of multipliers being added in a short amount of time. Instead of players that depend on hits, for example, they're not getting goals and assists, which are like, I think they're 3 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist, instead of 0.2 for a hit.
Right. And I also feel like the nice thing about points leagues is it's easier to, I guess, in shallower leagues, the more players are available. But I feel like in points leagues, it's easier to hedge against your opponent. Like, oh, hey, you're playing, Tampa's got a good schedule. They have Kucherov or someone. Like, you could pick up a Gonsalves, or maybe Anthony Sorelli's on the wire.
Yes.
Like, it's easier to kind of hedge
Yeah.
versus these categories. It's, well, yeah, I mean, Kucherov could get in a goal, maybe Sorelli assists, but you're not really gaining
It's not
like an
one to
overall
one the same way.
value. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I actually did it in the finals though. My opponent had Celebrini and I added Wenberg for the power play.
Nice. That's what I was able to grab Will Smith in a different league. The league I got second in. Yeah, I was able to I grabbed Will Smith, my opponent grabbed Wenberg.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was either one to me was, I felt like, a good ad.
Yeah, Wenberg was hot. It didn't work in this case. They didn't handcuff each other on power play points, but it was worth the effort because he still did well.
Oh yeah. Those are both the players I had to keep my eyes on. And then week to week in categories, how much attention do you pay to your opponent's strengths and weaknesses in setting your lineups? Like, you're going up against someone who pretty much always wins their hits. But yeah, like I was just saying, like points leagues, it's a little easier to hedge. But if you're going up against someone, say, who wins, like hits each week, do you just plan on punting that to focus on other categories, or do you just
So
play each
I
week?
will, yeah, I will absolutely look at my opponent's previous week stats and kind of give a little bit of a look to that. And it'll tell me, like, do I need to add Ben Sherratt or should I add someone else if I want to try to take hits, or if it's even worth pursuing. But for the most part, I think I end up focusing more on myself because, like I was saying, I had a lot of injuries this year, so a lot of the streamers ended up being not just for a few days; they ended up being for a few weeks.
Yeah, heck yeah. And then who was your team MVP? With this name, I assume you drafted them, or was it someone dropped them and they were a pickup?
It was Alex DeBrincat. He led my team in 4 categories, and he was my most consistent player. He played all 82 games, which is kind of important. And over 40 goals, 40 assists. Led
Yes,
the team in power play points, and
there we go. And still had, like, I checked today. I think it looks like he ranked 17th overall in our
Yeah.
the category, the listener league there.
Yeah.
Gave you some hits and blocks in there
Yeah.
too. But did
Yeah.
you
Round
draft
5.
him or round
Round
5?
5.
So
Yeah.
there we go. Like what would that be, around 50s, 60s? And you got a player
Yeah.
that finished in top 20. That is ridiculous value.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is the one move you made that maybe looked terrible at the time but turned out to be pretty crucial?
Yeah.
Maybe to most people it made no sense, but I mean, like some moves I make, like Warren Buffett used to say, like the stock market is the vehicle to transfer wealth from the impatient to the patient.
Yeah.
Um,
So I kept Robert Thomas all year.
I could definitely see the logic there most of the season. I think
Yeah.
he was someone, I think when it came down to the last few weeks, like I was just grabbing whatever Blues players I could, wherever I could. I think I got mostly shares of Snuggerud and Holloway, but yeah, Rob Thomas, I think, was out there in one
Yeah.
league.
He's tough when he's not producing in cats, though.
Oh yeah. And I think that's the struggle with him, is just he's always getting you kind of points or nothing.
Yeah.
It feels
low,
like.
low goals, low shots, low hits.
And then kind of last question here. If you could give one piece of fantasy advice to someone who's never played categories before, what would that be? Like maybe something someone told you your first season.
I think I've done the best from using the online tools that are available. A bunch of them are for free. Just mine them, use them to figure out tiebreakers, use them for recent trends. But mainly, if you're number 8 in the league, look to the 7 teams above you. What are they doing that you're not doing? Figure out what they're doing. How do they draft? Who are they adding every week? When do they use their moves? I think learning from people that are doing it is going to be the best cheat code to kind of leapfrog the standings.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I mean, obviously there's, lots of scheduled tools out there. The 5-hole website has one.
Yep.
There's 0 games above replacement, which I know I personally used for years. I'm actually surprised that still gets updated. But yeah, like Frozen Tools, I'm on you guys a lot. Like I know I've said at least once, it's like, I feel like Wikipedia and Frozen Tools are 2 of my most commonly used websites for things. But yeah, before we wrap it up here, anything you want to plug / where can people find you?
Go to Dauber Hockey, and all the links are there for Dauber Prospects, Fantasy Hockey Geek, Goalie Post. All that is right there. Also look up Frozen Tools, Dauber Hockey on X, and all kinds of fun stuff there.
That's okay, great. Well, that's gonna wrap it. Thank you again, Eric, for your time, for doing this. Congratulations on your back-to-back wins. We'll see next year if it's a dynasty. I know I still have a couple years to go before I'm in tier 1, but I'm looking to be there one day, and then
looking forward to it.
See what happens.
Yeah.
But thanks everyone. Take care of yourselves and each other.